Okay, Shalom Akim, Kahalayim La Yahaba Shem Yashai, Bashem Rakha Kodash, and double honors to the great Muslim apostles. Thoude Yashai for the strength in order to make this video, and Yara Tazar, they also edify from this video too. It's the brother Ratazar Raha, Halawaya, meaning willing spirit praise Yahweh. Of course, when we say Kahalalim La, it means all praises to, and then Yahweh is the name of the Most High, of whom the world ignorantly calls him God. And Yahushua is the name of our Messiah, really for Israel. But first and foremost, he will save the elect, mentioned in Revelation 14, verse 1 to 2, and Zechariah 13, verse 9, pertaining to the 1/3. Yahushua means he delivers. Yahweh means he is, he exists, he is, or he is to be. And of course, when we say Kal Haloim La, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Rakha Kodash, we're saying all praises to Yahweh in the name. Bahasham means in the name. Ba means in, Ha means the, Sham means name. And then Yahushua Bahasham Rakha Kodash means in the name of the Spirit Holy, quite literally, but it means in the name of the Holy Spirit. Because Rakha means spirit, and then Kodash means holy. And that's why I said Spirit Holy. But anyways, that's just a brief introduction for any of you new brothers or the few sisters out there. But today's topic really is pertaining to, as you can see from the title, XCI spy, China's preparing and we're not paying attention. Here's what happens if they take over. Which really, all this is just a warm-up, as I always like to say, a warm-up for World War III. Because as different nations have their incentives would then collide, because one incentive would then oppose another person's incentive. And eventually, Babylon's going to be the one where people are just going to be like, yep, forget, we're going to launch it at them. And yeah, the weak are then going to launch their missiles, man, the weaker nations rather. So I just wanted to play this part of this video here, from, what's the channel name? Diary of a CEO. Yeah, it's one of those podcast channels. Very informative as well. So yeah, the point is, Yara Tazar, when I play parts of the video, and I'll bring out some presets pertaining to those points as well. Because we know, as I named it, sudden destruction is inevitable. That's why I named this video. Sudden destruction is inevitable. So let's play a little bit and then Yara Tazar might get some precepts.
What is your biggest concern as it relates to the map, but also technology and the future that we're heading towards? What's your biggest concern?
I don't know that that's a really interesting question, and I know I should have like a pat answer right off the top of my head. I tend to look at the next big global conflict. So I'm not so much. Again, don't get me wrong. These are bad, right? These potential flare-ups, these problems, this conflict here in the Middle East. These are all bad. People are suffering. But I think about the next actual global conflict. And when that occurs, right, just like another pandemic's going to happen, right? And it's not like we're not going to get another pandemic. When the next big global conflict occurs, I think what we're going to find is that the pain is brought to the homeland a lot quicker, right? So what I mean by that is, say you're in the U.S. Well, we know that nations that don't necessarily have U.S. interests at heart, China, let's focus on China because they are, close to the top of the heap and they're motivated to get to the top. Not saying it's going to be a shooting match, but the point being is every day, the critical infrastructure, critical systems in the U.S. are being tested and poked and prodded and looked at and mapped out. And there's a reason why that happens, right? So they're developing a playbook that says in the event that it should happen and we have a global conflict, we are going to shut down everything we can shut down in the U.S. Suddenly, all power goes off. Your water treatment facilities aren't working. You can't move fuel around. You can't get fuel. Pharmaceuticals aren't being delivered. No food is being delivered. Can't get cash out, whether you want cash or not at that point. The idea being is we're going to bring the pain to the homeland, right? Immediately. That's what you want.
God. So pretty much as all these other nations as well, because all of this requires, of course, strategic examination of other nations that they plan to target. For instance, he did mention China targeting the U.S. infrastructure. That's why they're mapping it out. But with that alone as well, they say their aim would be to shut down everything in the United States, man, America, Babylon. And with them shutting down all those infrastructures, essential ones, pertaining to energy, as you said, the water system, and of course, electricity and whatnot, and all the other essentials that people take for granted right now, that's going to be really Jacob's trouble right there, man. Jacob's trouble right there is when everything's shut down. You can't rely on your government no more. So all that flipping chanting at Trump alleys and whatnot, all that was in vain anyways, man. Right, where was it? Jeremiah 30 and verse 7. This is Jeremiah 30 and 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Now it says that day is great, man. So obviously it's talking about a period of time where Jacob's trouble is going to be prominent, which in the phrase in itself, Jacob's trouble, which means Jacob will be in trouble, man. Going to be going through all sorts of afflictions. And as the guy said, man, he said all these infrastructures will be shut down. That is literally just the beginning of it, man. It's just the beginning of it. Imagine that time where they just shut down all the electricity as well. Because I know a few times in certain, I'm not sure if it's happened. Actually, yeah, it has happened. And even in the UK as well, certain places have had blackouts as well. So imagine that, people unprepared, not really having anything to do after that, man. They'll be panicking. So let me rewind that again. Because that's what he's describing there is Jacob's trouble.
Happens, right? So they're developing a playbook that says, in the event that it should happen and we have a global conflict, we are going to shut down everything we can shut down in the U.S. Suddenly, all power goes off. Your water.
So even prior to the missiles as well, that in itself will be an attack. For example, an EMP, which will shut down all the electronic devices as well. I think the guy's going to also talk about directed energy weapons, which is called directed energy weapons, where they really target satellites, or which provide internet to around the world. And even that alone, with that type of attack, is like everything's dead now. Anything that requires wireless communication, all of that is all dead, and networks and whatnot, all of that is dead.
Treatment facilities aren't working. You can't move fuel around. You can't get fuel.
Yeah, so you ain't gonna be able to drive in that day. You ain't gonna be able to drive at all because there'll be no fuel to fuel your car. You can't be flipping importing fuel either or mining it.
Pharmaceuticals aren't being delivered. No food is being delivered.
Yeah, so obviously those of whom are reliant upon like things like insulin, what else? Let's say weight loss tablets or something, and some other type of tablets or whatever, some kind of medicinal properties that people consume. Those of whom are reliant on it, the thing is they won't be able to have access to it anymore, man. Hence why those of us in this truth, we may have ailments as well. Our faith will be tested in Yahweh Shem Yahshai, because it's an easy thing for Yahweh Shem Yahshai to heal us in this time. Whatever that we may be going through, whatever the body may be going through as well, little sicknesses here and there, Yahweh Shem Yahshai will look after us. And that's part of having faith in Yahweh Shem Yahshai. No matter what, man. You could even you will be surprised in that day, man, with what Yahweh Shem Yahshai will provide us with. So yeah,
can't get cash out, whether you want cash or not at that point. The idea being is we're going to bring the pain to the homeland, right? Immediately, that's what you want to do.
That phrase there says we're going to bring pain to the homeland, which is obviously reference to America. Immediately, is reference to sudden destruction, man. Sudden destruction, which is something that is unexpected typically. In fact, no, it should be probably 1 Thessalonians 2 and 5. Or maybe 2 Thessalonians 2 and 5. Actually, let me try this. It's either one of these, man. Yep, this is it. So 1 Thessalonians 5, and I'll read verse 1. But Of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai so cometh as a thief in the night. It only comes as a thief in the night to those who are unaware of the signs, of course, prior to Yahushua coming. Because, of course, those of us aware of the signs prior, which means before Yahushua come, we won't see Yahushua come as a thief in the night. We'll know, okay, the time is near. Summer is near. So 1 Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So of course, as it said there, man, when they say peace and safety, it says that yeah, everything's all good, people are all high and whatnot, celebrating. I think Trump also mentioned about 250-year I don't know, call it anniversary, but for the lack of a better word, I'll say anniversary of the American Empire, man. I say empire, but obviously the reason why I mention empire because it's still Rome, it's still the Roman Empire back in place again, man. Just with a different form of power, and you know that because of the SWIFT banking system, of which is used for trade for majority of the countries around the world, and everything is traded in dollars. So yeah, as it says in 1 Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. Sudden destruction. It comes unexpectedly, cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with a child, and they shall not escape. So yeah, that sudden destruction as well, you could also liken it to, the attacks that was mentioned here, to the water infrastructure, energy grids and whatnot. All the infrastructure that's essential for cities to run will be demolished. And then people just be out here, being, entering into cannibalism. What else? Pretty much being crazy is a word to summarize it, man. Crazy. Because they have no faith, they have hopelessness.
The idea being is we're going to bring the pain to the homeland, right? Immediately. That's what you want to do. Will there be a kinetic element? Will you actually have a shooting match with, troops on ground? Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, what he's talking about there is basically sedition among men, man. With people going against their rulers.
That ever goes away, but the next global conflict is going to be fought in a way that we have a hard time understanding, and then it'll be up in space as well. The Chinese have spent a great deal of effort on directed energy weapons, and one of the points of that is essentially to knock out satellite systems. Right? You think about it, you take away satellite structures. Whether it's Starlink or any of the satellite systems up there, you shut down GPS. Right? People can't move. You shut down the internet. My God, people will lose their minds. Right?
Yeah, man, because just observe society. Many people are reliant on their phones to really navigate a place. Most of the young generation, even myself as well, we don't really know how to navigate with a real life physical map, man. We gotta be able to know what location that we're on the map, how to navigate the map as well. Because I remember back in the day, when I say back in the day, I'm talking about when I was much younger, around 5, 6, 7 years old. Really 7, 8 years old. My dad using a map really, to navigate, okay, what's the roads here, what's the roads there, before he goes for a drive. So all this technology, yes, it's convenient, but as a result as well, it is at the cost of laziness as well. Because if you then become too reliant on, let's say Google Maps, for instance, then you're losing less part of your brain, which requires memory. Hence why it's good to also make sure you remember information, because it helps keep that part of the brain very healthy as well. Now let me play a bit more.
Can't do TikTok, and so it's.
Yeah, as he said, you can't do TikTok, which is really just a major weapon of distraction, and where they can push agendas through that too, especially to the young individuals. But not just young individuals, older individuals, everyone's pretty much on TikTok, apart from those of whom, if a brother's not on TikTok, it's fine anyways, man, because that stuff is addictive. But yeah.
Not to make light of it, because we're talking about a different type of warfare. And so that's kind of the thing that I worry about. If you said, what do people really worry about? Well, yeah, top concerns are always, China and Russia and Iran, but it's the infrastructure and it's a way that it's going to be brought to the homeland that's going to create, I think, a level of pain that most people aren't going to be willing to put up with for very long.
Exactly. People are softened up. Well, he's about to say that very soon. But people are in that state where they can't go through any adversity or hardship. That's why we need to also pray for strength, to endure through whatever situation that we've got to go through, man. So let's get to it.
You say they're going to bring pain to the homeland. Were you saying
And that's going to create, I think, a level of pain that most people aren't going to be willing to put up with for very long.
When you say they're going to bring pain to the homeland, were you saying the US were going to shut down their infrastructure?
No, I'm saying that whoever it's again, I'm just as a U. It could be any, it could be the EU in a conflict. It could be the US and NATO in a conflict with another. But the point being is that they don't map out infrastructure for no reason at all.
Who's mapping the infrastructure?
Well, Russia, China.
Okay, they're mapping
Iran.
Yeah, that's why obviously the opponent, the enemy country, they're the ones mapping out infrastructure with the intention to destroy it. Which is scripturally accurate as well, man. Let me get this precept out as well, because Esau, Edom. Hold on. For themselves. Yeah, Ratazah. So this is Psalms 64 and verse 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So of course Esau's going to report on Esau, man. I remember even in this podcast of another, I think either FBI agent or something, or Fune was actually giving intel to the Russians, man. So of course Esau's going to betray his own kind as well, man. And once they understand that this place is done for, I'm talking about Babylon here, by the way, America, they're going to realize, okay, yeah, forget you. We're going out of here, man. We're going to rat you out. That's what Esau's doing right now. So that's just a minor example. And it's mentioned, somewhere here in this podcast here as well. So let's see. That was the point. Let me get another one as well. Jeremiah 49. Because Esau will fall. Yeah, so like I was just reading the precept to see what the right one would be. Okay, right. Let me read from verse 16 to about verse 18. So this is Jeremiah 49 and 16. Their terribleness have deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill, though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Lord Yahweh. So yes, it's Yahweh's will for Esau to be brought down from that high state, that he's been blessed with temporarily. To have rulership over the nations, that's only for a season. That's it. To verse 17, also Edom shall be a desolation, which means complete and utter destruction. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof, man. So America's going to be a flipping done-out case, man. As I said, as the guy said, in the podcast, all the infrastructure is destroyed. He mentioned some of the systems that would be shut down. That's by, Moab, Gog as well, which is Russia. So verse 18, as in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord Yahweh, no man shall abide there, neither shall a son of man dwell in it. So of course, Yahweh Shemashah is about to demolish Esau, man. Completely and utterly demolish Esau. So let's get back to this.
Who's mapping the infrastructure?
Well, Russia, China.
Okay, they're mapping
Iran,
our infrastructure.
Our infrastructure. We're doing the same thing.
Yeah, sure.
And people always say that.
Okay.
Say, well, you're doing the same thing. Well, you better hope that whether it's the UK or whether it's Australia or whether it's the US, that you hope that we're engaged in the same activities, because that's where this is going to end up going. Having said that, if someone had said we're going to be engaged in a massive land war, World War I style, with trenches and very little ground gain and lots of bombardment over it, people would have said, nah, that's never going to happen again.
But that's happening in Ukraine right now.
And it's happening in Ukraine. You can go, the Imperial War Museum in London, which is a wonderful museum. They've got a World War I exhibit, and you go through the World War I exhibit, and
How are you preparing on a personal level if you're seeing that some of these
a lot of guns and ammo.
really?
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm.
Yeah, you may be joking around there, but that's Esau's mentality, though. That's Esau's mentality, to trust in his sword.
Not kidding, but that's not how I'm preparing.
Yeah,
I just like to, load up.
Because you're saying you don't believe Americans and Westerners really understand how the next big global conflict will look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is there a way they can prepare for such a conflict?
Well, on one level, people need to read as much as they can and pay attention, right? I mean, get as many different sources of information. Don't just read one.
It's true. Hold on.
Outlet that you happen to agree with. But, try to be as much as they can and pay attention, right? I mean, get as many different sources of information. Don't just read one outlet that you happen to agree with.
Exactly. Because you've got the major news outlets. I think you got CBN, CNN over there in America. Some other ones, ABC News and whatnot. I think over here in the UK, you got Sky News, BBC News, Guardian, Daily Mail and whatnot. Those are all news outlets, man. But those are major news outlets. If you really want to get true news, you gotta go to alternative platforms to research for that, man. I think lately there's sometimes if you go on certain YouTube videos, they have a sponsor called Ground News. That's where they analyze, the left ideologies and the right ideologies of the right is more conservative and the left is more progressive, open to change. But the point is, with that type of platform, you could be able to get those alternative sources of media. Even just going on alternative streaming platforms. When I say streaming platforms, I'm talking about alternative to YouTube, for instance, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble. Those are alternative platforms where you can get news from as well. When you actually search for something, you will get news from it too. So with that type of information, you're using alternative outlets and not just relying on the major news sources, which that's even filtered in itself. Those major news outlets are filtered information. So and it says, read, pay attention, and that's part of it. Read the more. In fact, let him talk for a bit and then see if there's anything else.
But try to be as informed as possible.
Yeah, you mentioned it right there. Try and be informed as possible, man. Part of watching the news, seeing what's going on, understanding the mechanics of conflicts that are going on and how it links to prophecy too. So that's part of our work that we've got to do, man. To be a watchman. I'll try to get that as well. To be a watchman, that's our role. Now, something else, man. Hold on. Yeah, it should have been this one. Yeah, that made I'm gonna read Isaiah 62 and 6. So this is Isaiah 62 and 6. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem. That's read the prophets, which shall never hold their peace day or night. And we do that through the internet as well, because on one end, you got brothers more so in the European area, UK, Holland, and Germany, uploading videos, and then a few hours time during the night, brothers in America also uploading videos, man. So it's literally day or night. It says shall never hold their peace day or night. Yet, that make mention of the Lord Yahweh, keep not silent. So of course that's our role, man, to keep reporting. And to report, we need to also observe Allah, in order to know what to report about, which is in link to prophecy.
Which I think sometimes it's difficult to do because we're all busy, right? We're all putting food on the table and trying to take care of families and whatever. But and so I think there's an element of folks just trying to be informed, and then that would be, look, I mean, the pandemic that occurred, the COVID-19 thing. If people were really, really watching what was going on, October 2019, right? There's this weird situation going on in China. A couple of cities were quarantined.
That's the thing, though. I actually remember seeing a news article, a notification on the demic, of which is about really around November, December 2019. I thought it was just going to be one of those minor things like, okay, yep, it's over there in China. And not knowing 2020, it went hard, man. And then obviously it started to spread, and obviously fear-mongering began and whatnot. And yeah, that's what happened. So really, it's just seeing the signals, man. That's why, when bros be uploading, about the bird flu and what was the other thing? Well, basically referring to pestilences. These are early warning signs before the actual commencements of these demics.
And that started to bubble up, and people were paying attention to it. I was getting notifications about, what the hell's going on in China, well before there was any declaration of a problem, right? And so, and the Wuhan lab was mentioned repeatedly. So I think just being informed is one of the best things that people can do. And then, I'm not a prepper, but it's always good just to, be prepared for a natural crisis, right? Power goes out because there's a blackout. Fine. There's whatever the reason may be. Just be a little aware of and have a plan of some sort that says if there is a natural disaster, not saying a shooting match, then what do? What's my commo plan? I got kids at school. How do I reach them?
We're so unprepared because in our lifetimes, we've never had a war. Right. So I grew up, I'm 32 years old now. I assume wars happen in other places. Mm-hmm. They don't happen in the UK or in LA or New York. They happen over there.
Which really, of course, there ain't nothing wrong with having a few more tins in the house as well, food or whatnot to prepare. But we know that that's only going to last. That's only going to last for a certain amount of season. Hence why our faith got to be on Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, because He's the one of whom will really provide us food in the times of need. Because remember, the food supply will be stopped nevertheless, man. And whatever is stocked up, that will also be diminished as well. So it's like, okay, it's done. You still got to have Yahweh Hashem Yahushua nevertheless. If you ain't got Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, you're finished. That's the main message here. Alright, let's see. I was going to get another thing as well. All the men of that confederacy. Let's see. This is Obadiah 1 and 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. So of course, and it says in verse 8, shall I not in that day, save the Lord Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the Mount of Esau? Yes, He would. All the men of that confederacy have brought thee even to the border. Yeah. So that betrayal from the other nations, even the other NATO nations, would then be towards America, man, as things heat up even more. So you've got to keep that in watch, man. Hence why I've got to be watching the news, because this is the prophecy that it links to, Obadiah 1 and 7 and 8. And a few other prophecies as well. Right, which really, this all goes into Esau being a wicked ruler, and that wickedness will lead to his destruction, a mass amount of destruction. We get this precept out here. This is Ecclesiastes 8 and 11. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, Remember, the Most High Yahweh is long suffering. Therefore, the heart of the sons of men is fully setting them to do evil. That's why Esau keeps doing this, spreading his false ideologies, which involves wickedness, man. And that wickedness will come at our cost. That's why he keeps doing it, because the Most High hasn't judged him yet. I'm talking about full or strong judgment. But that's destined for a time in itself, which we're super, super close to, man. As World War III happens, as soon as Esau's done his MOTB, to release it globally, that's going to be a done-up case right there. So that judgment's just going to speed up. That's what I'm trying to say.
Happen over there. So I'm comfortable and I'm complacent to some degree. And I could never imagine
Them.
We're so unprepared because in our lifetimes we've never had a war.
Right.
So I grew up, I'm 32 years old now. I assume wars happen in other places. They don't happen in the UK or in LA or New York. They happen over there. So I'm comfortable and I'm complacent to some degree. And I could never imagine even an adversarial plane flying over my city.
Yeah, there's a level of we've all gotten. I don't want to say soft necessarily, but look, every generation wants it to be easier, right?
Adversity breeds strength, man. There's a reason why when you do something hard, and then you're able to do it, that you grow stronger. Just like the basic lifting heavy weights, your body adapts to lifting that heavy weight. As you refuel with food and get proper sleep, have the right measures in order to absorb the nutrients in order to grow the muscle in strength and size as well, if it be so.
My parents were older when they had me. They were born in 1919 and 1920, right? And they went through the the tough times, economic times. They went through a couple of wars. They wanted it better for their kids, right? Now, their parents, my grandparents, wanted it better for them, right? And so on and so forth. That's human nature. You want to be doing the best for your kids. You want it to be better for that generation. I think eventually you reach diminishing returns, right? And I do worry that that's kind of where we're at. I look at my own kids and look, nobody's out there, in here or over here or wherever. There's certainly places in the world where that's not true, but
which rightfully so, man. Family supposed to provide better conditions for the child, to be more profitable for them to also create another family and then, continue the seed line as well. Part of being fruitful and multiplying. But, in the past, there's been adverse conditions which would have hindered that. But yeah, those adverse conditions would have strengthened people, man, to know what to do if it did happen again. But right now, we live in an age where things are softened up, convenient, which breeds laziness and, of course, dependency upon Esau's tools.
These areas here that we're talking about, we're not out worrying about whether we can collect enough food and clean water necessarily. We're worried about, is my Wi-Fi signal strong enough?
But it's interesting. When you were talking about Israel earlier, you said how Israel had got a bit comfortable, so they started infighting.
Right.
And what you're seeing over...
So that's really the point right there. That is really the point, man. Sudden destruction is inevitable. Get another preset and Yaratazar, I'm going to close that up. Because at the end of the day, the nations will go against Babylon, man. I think this should be the precept. Actually, no, wait. No, it's here somewhere. Let the weak say, I am strong. I'll read from verse 9. So Joel 3:9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which means Yahweh's judgment. Jehoshaphat, which in the ancient Hebrew is Yahweh Shaphat, which means Yahweh's judgment. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. And the key part is here, it says, let the weak say I am strong. So them nuclear missiles, man, you know, which the other nations like Iran and some other nations as well have, they will use it against Babylon eventually. That's really the main purpose of those nuclear missiles being used. You know, to use it on each other. But of course, majority of them will be sent to Babylon. So yeah, chances are that you were edified by this video. And you know, I'm gonna say Shalom, Kal Halalim La Yahaba Shem Yashaba Shem Rakha Kodash and double on the great Muslim apostles. Thought Yahweh for the strength in order to make this video. And yeah, Yahweh Tazar, which means Yahweh willing that you understood it too. Remember, sudden destruction is inevitable for America specifically.